Freedom is never handed over by those in power. It must be claimed by those who suffer under it. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke those words more than 60 years ago, and today across Africa they ignite with a fresh intensity. Picture this, a continent of 1.4 billion people, long confined to the digital toll roads of Silicon Valley, suddenly throws the switch on an internet of its own. No more detours across oceans. No hidden fees fattening distant shareholders. No voices drowned out by algorithms crafted in faraway boardrooms. Overnight, Africa declares a digital sovereignty as bold as any revolution in history. But here lies the contradiction. In America, self-reliance is praised as noble. Yet, when Africans like Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traoré demand sovereignty in gold, in food, or in data, the response is suspicion, even hostility. Why? This isn't just about faster Wi-Fi or shiny new tech. It is about dignity, power, and who controls tomorrow. For a farmer in Ouagadougou, for a student in Nairobi, for nations scarred by centuries of dependence, this shift is nothing less than historic. The real question, when people reclaim their own digital highways, is it a threat to the global order or the dawn of fairness? The internet was once sold as a borderless commons, a highway of ideas. But for Africa, it was a mirage. Every email, every transaction, every search, from Ghana to Burkina Faso, was forced to travel thousands of miles to servers in Europe or the US before returning home. Imagine mailing a letter to your next-door neighbor by first shipping it across the Atlantic. That absurdity was daily life online for millions. The system wasn't only clumsy, it was punishing. Africa carried some of the highest internet costs on the planet, not because demand was low, but because it was renting space on infrastructure it did not own. Families in Burkina Faso sacrificed a large share of their income just to keep children connected to school. Meanwhile, American corporations pocketed billions from this arrangement every year, and the impact went beyond money. Power itself was centralized. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft weren't just offering tools. They were the gatekeepers. They decided what Africans could find, how quickly they received it, and which voices were lifted or silenced. A young African researching the Mali Empire might find more material on Napoleon than on their own continent's history. This was dependency by design, costly, slow, tilted outward. A mirror of colonial patterns where raw wealth left and power flowed in. And it created a dilemma. Accept quiet submission to the digital empire, or gamble everything on building something new. That tension between the safety of dependence and the peril of freedom now defines leaders like Ibrahim Traoré. His creed is simple yet revolutionary. Sovereignty is not rhetoric. It must be woven into the foundations of daily life, from gold under the soil to data pulsing through cables. On one side stands a system, Western corporations, foreign governments, and colonial habits insisting Africa's digital future must pass through them. On the other side, a young president in his 30s, representing a generation that refuses to inherit chains disguised as contracts. Traoré frames two paths. The first is familiar dependence. Burkina Faso and its neighbors keep paying inflated bills to outsiders, accept lagging speeds, filtered knowledge, and a digital world built elsewhere. Predictable, but locked in subordination. The second is untested, risk in the name of freedom. Construct Africa's own digital highways, lay over 100,000 kilometers of fiber, build dozens of data centers, and create a protocol deliberately outside Silicon Valley's control. Expensive, uncertain, and guaranteed to provoke powerful resistance, yet filled with possibility. The $50 billion once drained annually could circulate at home, funding engineers, startups, and innovation. For a farmer in Bogo Dioulasso using an app made in Ouagadougou, this is not abstract. Faster, cheaper data means better harvests, stronger markets, and lives less vulnerable to exploitation. For a student in Nairobi, it means African history rising first in search results, not buried beneath Western narratives. Traoré's words resonate because they mix emotional truth with tangible gains. If we reclaim our minds, our fields, and now our internet, then dependence ends. Young Africans repeat it as a slogan, a hashtag, a rallying cry. But the question lingers, is Africa prepared to defend this freedom against global pressure and local temptation? defiance alone is not enough. Sovereignty requires discipline. And so the story unfolds: belief, resistance, crisis, and a decision that changed everything. In 2022, barely months into leadership, Traoré began speaking of sovereignty not just over land or gold, but over information. His words struck a chord with a generation raised on smartphones yet invisible online. Skepticism was everywhere. Could Africa really build its own internet? But beneath the doubt, conviction grew. Fiber cables stretched across deserts and jungles. Data centers rose in Dakar and Nairobi. And when the switch was finally thrown, the results shocked the world. Within days, more than 200 million Africans joined the new network. No tech platform in history, not Facebook, not TikTok, not WhatsApp, had seen adoption so fast. Google and Microsoft called emergency meetings. Their systems could not index it. Their clouds could not pierce it. The monopoly cracked at its roots. Western capitals panicked. Washington debated sanctions under the banner of digital security. Paris and London warned of internet fragmentation. Headlines cast Africa's step as reckless, not revolutionary. But on the ground, lives changed. Students streamed lectures without interruption. Farmers traded in real time. Journalists searched in native tongues and finally found African voices first. Families no longer choose between groceries and school internet bills. Rural doctors exchanged patient data securely, beyond foreign surveillance. The transformation was not abstract. It was visible, tangible, dignity made real. Across social media, slogans went viral: Africa connected. Sovereign now, our data, our destiny. Youth groups painted murals. Civil society demanded safeguards for liberty, warning that sovereignty must not become censorship. Independence had to walk hand in hand with freedom. For the first time, a continent long treated as a consumer became a creator. Africa stopped asking permission. This was not just technological drama, it was a rebirth. Proof that sovereignty could be infrastructure, fiber, cables, and code. And yet, pressure remained. Could this revolution endure? Would outside powers or internal flaws erode it? At stake was not technology alone, but control of knowledge, wealth, and dignity. For centuries, Africa's resources, gold, cotton, oil, and now data, flowed outward. With the continental internet exchange, the current reversed. Knowledge, capital, and opportunity circled inward, building strength from within. The message condensed into a chant: our hands, our life, our future. Not just words, a promise? For older generations abroad, the imagery recalled civil rights march or the fall of the Berlin Wall. Different context. Same heartbeat. People refusing to be defined by another system. This is not just Africa's story. It is a mirror held up to the world. Dependence is fragile. Sovereignty is strength. And in the digital age, freedom is no longer about borders. It is about cables, servers, and algorithms that shape what we know. So the question is yours too. When faced with the choice, would you cling to the safety of dependence or risk everything for freedom? Stories like these are more than headlines. They are seeds. Seeds of dignity planted in Africa that can grow into forests of freedom across the globe. If this journey moved you, share it. Let it travel further than any cable. Add your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe, because the next chapter of this struggle for sovereignty has only just begun.